Hey YouTube, how's it going? So this is my 450 gallon vivarium, which has been up and running for about 8 months now. Housed in it are 6 Dendrobates leucomelis, which have settled in quite nicely. And up until recently, have been relatively quiet outside of a few calls here and there. All that's changed over the last couple weeks though, with 2 males in particular who have really stepped up their calling game. And for me, I knew this was my cue to get the camera out and start recording as much as possible. Pictured here is the sole gravid female right now and one of the males which has been calling. I've done quite a lot of cutting and speeding up the video just to save time. For those who aren't aware, the whole process starts with the males calling, hoping to attract the female. In this case, you can see here and probably hear the male calling and grabbing the attention of the female. Once he's successful in calling in a female who's ready to breed, she'll show her receptiveness to the male by approaching him, climbing up on his back, and slowly nudging him and pawing at him with their front legs. After it's been established that the female is ready to breed, he then tries to lead her towards the spot he has picked out for her to deposit the eggs. Unfortunately, things don't always go as smooth as planned, and here we could see another female coming into the picture who's not gravid. So at the moment, she's either distracted or does not see the other female as competition. As you can see, the video sped up pretty fast here. It's because all this takes a lot of time, but right now the male is trying to lead her into the spot he has picked out, which unfortunately is going to turn out to be a spot that she does not look like she's too happy with. Now, to make things worse, female number 2 is about to come back into the picture, and she gets a little too close for the gravid female's liking. Now, because the male's under the leaf and he can't see what's going on around him, he's completely oblivious to the fireworks that's about to go down. Once the gravid female sees the other female intruding, she immediately goes in for the takedown, covering her head up and driving her right into the ground. Now, this is a perfect example of aggressive behavior. Now, unfortunately for the other female, it doesn't just stop here. She doesn't just tackle her and move away. She just sits on top of her. Unfortunately for the intruding female, I don't know how long this would have lasted. As luck would have it, though, the intruding female is about to be saved by an unlikely hero, which happens to be the other male who starts calling and distracts the gravid female away. Now, this part here I thought was pretty funny. The male finally comes out from underneath the leaf, and to his surprise, the female's gone, and in her spot is someone he did not expect to see. Now, once he's gathered himself and he clearly sees that's not the female he wanted, he goes back to calling. Unfortunately, this is where things get a bit chaotic with all the different frogs. Male number 2 is now coming to the picture, but he's not alone. Following close behind him is the gravid female. I know some people watching might think that there's about to be some male-on-male aggression, but that's absolutely not the case of what happens here. What's actually about to happen is just your standard leucomelis comedy. Seeing the female approaching, the male thinks that she's coming for him again, and he darts under the leaf. Unfortunately for him, she's lost interest in him, and she's now following the other male. Finally realizing what's going on, male number 1 darts over, no pun intended, to intercept the two. At first glance, this does seem like it is working as she starts to paw at his back, but then she quickly switches over and goes to frog number 2. Unfortunately, I wasn't manning the camera at the time, so they're starting to move out of frame, but now you can see male number 2 jumps on her back and is trying to convince her that he's the right one for her. At this point in time, they left the camera for a few minutes, but now they're coming back in. Leading the way is male number 2, who actually finds a spot that turns out that she likes because she does follow him under the leaf. Unfortunately for them, male number 1 is not quite done yet. Seeing that they went under the leaf, he decides he's going to follow and break the party up. Unfortunately, I don't know what was going on underneath the leaf, but this didn't last very long. It was only about a minute or so until they started re-emerging from underneath it. Frog number 2 comes out, followed by the gravid female, and shortly thereafter, male number 1 comes out. Now this part I thought was a little interesting. As soon as male number 1 comes out, he quickly jumps in between male number 2 and the female, and then jumps on her back, again showing that he is definitely the frog for her. Now, surprisingly enough, this does seem to work, and she stops following male number 2 and starts showing him attention again. Unfortunately, they do end up leaving frame again for a few minutes, but when they come back around, it's male number 1 who quickly jumps up on the log and starts to call again. After all this has gone by, I think now he has finally solidified his position as the mate that she's going to stick with. Male number 2 does follow them around a bit and even tries to get in between them to try and distract her away, but that's very fleeting, and she quickly turns and goes back to male number 1. As male number 1 and the gravid female move away, male number 2 decides he's going to give it one last shot. Unfortunately, he's unsuccessful in drawing the female away from male number 1. Now, as you can see, compared to male number 2, male number 1 is a lot more aggressive with the breeding behavior. And after watching him and number 2, I can definitely tell his call, it lasts a lot longer, it's much louder, and it's definitely got a different pitch to it. Unfortunately, this lasted a lot longer, so I stopped recording, but if you remember that one leaf that they were underneath for a while, I'm not sure if this is when it happened, but the next day when I picked the leaf up, I found 11 eggs. Unfortunately, 2 were infertile, but I now have the other 9 sitting in a petri dish waiting to turn to tadpoles. Once that happens, I'll make sure I make a video of how I split them up and put them into cups and wait for them to turn to froglets. Thanks for watching.